I think of Broadway's attempts to fuse rock authenticity with theatrical storytelling, one of the boldest in recent memory is Jagged Little Pill. Premiering in 2019, this musical took Alanis Morissette's legendary 1995 album and used it as the backbone for a new narrative about a suburban family wrestling with pain, identity, and redemption. It was not a jukebox musical in the shallow sense. It did not simply recreate an album on stage. Instead, it reframed Morissette's songs as a dramatic language, weaving them into a contemporary story of addiction, secrets, and survival. The result was raw, cathartic, and provocative, winning praise, sparking debates, and earning a Tony Award for Best Book of a Musical. The origins of the show began when producers approached Alanis Morissette with the idea of bringing her groundbreaking album to the stage. Released in 1995, Jagged Little Pill was a cultural phenomenon, selling over 30 million copies worldwide and becoming a defining soundtrack of the 1990s. Songs like You Oughta Know, Ironic, and Hand in My Pocket were anthems of anger, vulnerability, and resilience. Morissette and Glenn Ballard, who co-wrote much of the album, agreed to let the music form the foundation of a new musical. Playwright Diablo Cody, later an Academy Award winner for Juno, was brought in to craft the book. Cody's script centers on the Healeys, a seemingly perfect Connecticut family hiding fractures beneath the surface. Mary Jane, the mother, battles an addiction to painkillers after a car accident. Steve, her husband, is distant, consumed by work. Their daughter Frankie, adopted and black, struggles with identity in a white suburban environment. Their son Nick feels crushed by the pressure to excel. As crises unfold, sexual assault, addiction, secrets, the family confronts truths that cannot stay buried. Morissette's songs thread through these lives with startling resonance. All I Really Want opens the show as Mary Jane masks her struggles. Hand in My Pocket reflects Frankie's search for balance. Ironic is delivered with biting humor as a high school classroom debate. You Oughta Know, one of the most iconic numbers, becomes a show-stopping declaration of rage and betrayal, bringing audiences to their feet. Uninvited gives voice to Mary Jane's downward spiral, while Thank You closes with hard-won acceptance. The songs, once tied to the angst of the 1990s, proved timeless, reframed to explore pain and hope across generations. The Broadway production, directed by Diane Paulus, embraced intensity. Sidi Larbi Cherkawi's choreography was visceral, often expressing trauma through twisting, writhing movement. Ricardo Hernandez's set design framed suburban spaces with shifting panels and projections, evoking both comfort and confinement. The staging highlighted the contrast between glossy appearances and inner turmoil. Performances gave the material emotional depth. Elizabeth Stanley portrayed Mary Jane with harrowing vulnerability, showing both denial and desperation. Sean Allen Krill played Steve with weary detachment, gradually unraveling. Celia Rose Gooding as Frankie embodied youthful rebellion and resilience, while Derek Cleaner as Nick captured the suffocating weight of expectation. Lauren Patton's performance of You Oughta Know became legendary, earning her a Tony Award and consistent mid-show ovations. Jagged Little Pill sparked conversations not just about music, but about social issues. It addressed opioid addiction, sexual assault, racial identity, and queer relationships with unflinching honesty. Some praised its bravery, others criticized its handling of sensitive topics, especially the depiction of bisexuality and trauma. Debates erupted online, highlighting how passionately audiences engaged with the material. For some, the show was healing, reflecting struggles rarely seen on Broadway. For others, it was controversial, raising questions about representation. The show's cultural timing made it resonate even more. In the late 2000s, America was grappling with an opioid epidemic, debates about consent, and the rise of movements like #MeToo and Black Lives Matter. Jagged Little Pill mirrored those tensions, using Morissette's music as a lens to examine the fractures of modern society. The production's success was undeniable. It received 15 Tony nominations, winning Best Book of a Musical and Best Featured Actress for Lauren Patton. The cast album earned a Grammy Award in 2021 for Best Musical Theatre Album. Touring productions spread its reach, ensuring that Morissette's songs found new life in theatres across North America and beyond. For fans of the original album, the show was both nostalgic and revelatory. It reintroduced classic tracks in new contexts while reminding audiences of the raw honesty that made Morissette a generational voice. For new audiences, it offered an entry point into a story of struggle and resilience, carried by music that felt urgent and alive. What makes Jagged Little Pill endure is its refusal to smooth edges. It lives up to its name, jagged, sharp, difficult, yet cathartic. It shows that musicals can channel rock energy without losing emotional nuance. It bridges the gap between personal pain and collective healing. It proves that Broadway can embrace the rawness of alternative rock while still delivering theatrical craft. When I think of Jagged Little Pill, I think of Elizabeth Stanley collapsing on stage in Uninvited, of Lauren Patton tearing through You Oughta Know, of teenagers in the audience nodding to Ironic, with both laughter and recognition. I think of a show that dared to be messy, to confront trauma, to honour Alanis Morissette's fearless honesty. It is not a musical that resolves neatly, but one that leaves audiences shaken, questioning, and ultimately hopeful. Jagged Little Pill is not just a jukebox musical. It is a testament to survival, to the power of rock, and to the truth that even pain can sing.